welcome everyone tonight. We really appreciate you making some time in your busy schedule to come and talk real estate, learn from a master. We do this every month. Sometimes we do 2 a month where I'll bring in a guest who's been doing real estate in a big way. We're coming at things from a different perspective that I think is going to bring a lot of value to other real estate investors. My name's Ewing, and I'm a real estate investor who buys houses in Texas, but I actually live in Canada. So the original intent with this webinar and my meetup group was to teach Canadians how to get over that hump of investing in the States, because there's obviously a lot to learn when you're a foreigner, and some hurdles that Canadians face that other American investors don't even have to think about. But it's kind of grown as I've brought in different guests. We get more and more Americans that are just tuning in. So I think the content is going to apply to everybody. And I'd like to welcome Luke Weber. Luke is a house flipping obsessed psycho. I'm just coming up with new words to explain how crazy I think your business is as far as the volume you do, Luke. So thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, this is part 2. So we did this a couple weeks ago, and Luke's so busy flipping houses that he forgot his charger.
Yes.
So his phone died on us. So Luke, if it's okay, what I'd like to do is just I'm going to ask some of the same questions that I asked last time, just for people that are brand new watching this. Okay?
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure I'll have a similar but yet slightly different answer to it. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Not rehearsed.
Yeah. So Luke, just tell me about yourself, what you do, where you do it, and we'll get going that way.
Yeah, so my primary business is flipping houses. I've got rentals. I do wholesaling. My main market is Las Vegas, Nevada. I do, at any given time, I have 30 to 40 deals, actual flips going here in Nevada. But I'm active in multiple states. Like you, I'm also in Texas. Right now, I've got a couple deals going in Texas, a few going in Arizona, I got another one in Ohio. I think we got another one that we're doing in Colorado now.
Wow.
So we've been all over the U.S. And just, the whole reason for the podcast to help Canadians do this business in the States or even in Canada.
Yeah.
But the main thing is you can do this remotely. You just need to know the tips and tricks on how to do it. So my main business is flipping houses. Last year I opened up a real estate brokerage, and we actually just opened up our general contracting company as well.
Awesome. So you got a lot of big things going. That's great. How many houses did you flip last year? Do you know?
We were just under 100. We with the opening of the brokerage and the start of the construction company, we switched around some of our resources, our manpower to make sure that what we were creating was going the way we wanted it to. But we got busy.
Yeah. So what are you on pace for this year? Do you have this similar goal? Are you trying to be more or less?
This year our goal again is about 100.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's 100 flips. The wholesales, we'll probably do maybe 50 of them this year, and those are more. If it's a deal in Vegas, I'm buying it. If it's a deal somewhere else, I'm wholesaling it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I am doing more wholesaling actually. I got Midland, Texas. I got a wholesale deal there.
Yeah.
Where else? Bullhead City, Arizona. Sometimes it just makes sense to take it down and throw it on the open market with maybe a quick clean out and sell it.
So how are you coming across those deals? Is it just people bringing them to you because they know you're in real estate and you're like, hey, this is actually good? Wow.
Yeah, we get some of those, but actually more of that stuff comes up from our marketing for our own lead generation, which is Vegas based.
Yeah.
But then we get a seller that's got a house in Colorado, in Milwaukee, in Tampa, wherever. And, we run the numbers, we reach out to our connections. I've got a real large network across the country. I've met some really amazing people by going to events or doing podcasts and different real estate shows. And, I reach out to my network and say, hey, I may get a buyer here, connect with somebody. I get something locked up, work work as a team. We take it down and wholesale it off and make it a
Yeah.
win-win.
So when you're doing flips, because you've done some remodels in other cities, what do you just want to challenge, or why would you even bother when you've got so many going in Vegas?
Sometimes it's a partnership that just, hey, I know you, you know me, and it's like, hey, let's go ahead and do it. I've got resources that they might not have.
Yeah.
Cheaper money, more knowledge on the contractor base, whatever it is. Sometimes it's because we're opening up a new market. I've done a lot of deals in Florida for a while. We were real heavily active in Florida, in the Tampa Bay area. We did a bunch there. So it wasn't just a one-off. If you're just doing one-offs, it makes it a lot harder. But if you're in a market that makes sense and you do well in it on one, why not do another and another and another and really grow that as a secondary market? That's the way we've kind of looked at it. But over the last few years, we really said, okay, let's double down, triple down, quadruple down on Vegas. And that's where we really expanded. And then it was like, oh, it's easy enough for us to drive to Arizona or Reno or Central California and different places, and do maybe one or two here and there.
Yeah. Do you usually send your own teams and contractors and stuff that you're using in Vegas, or do you use local?
I prefer using local, but if it is driving distance, say within 2 hours, maybe 4 tops. It depends on the project actually and the required skill set for it. I might send a crew out there. Sometimes the guys are like, "Oh, I'm happy to leave town for 4 or 5 days at a time, live in the house or a hotel, and do the work." I'm like, "All right, if that's what you want to do. I wouldn't want to do that for my family, but go for it."
Yeah. Some of those guys are willing. I had a contractor that's willing to go pretty much anywhere, he said.
Well, yeah, I've got crews that are willing to go to Texas for my Texas stuff, and I'm like, no, it's okay. I'll keep you guys here. I can watch you here and make sure you don't get into trouble.
My wife's not even willing to drive across the city for something. So. Different strokes. So let's back up a little bit. I asked you last time, but you want to just give a little summary about how you got started, maybe, and what, I guess, how did you bridge that gap of starting out to getting to being able to handle a lot of volume?
Yeah, it's, I think I said it last time, for the listeners, you don't have to go big if you don't want to. You can keep it small, just your own business, just you, nobody else, doing a couple flips at a time and making really good money doing it. But if you want to go big, there's all different ways to do it. So the way I started into real estate was I had a very stressful job that I was at. I was managing a travel company, awful, worst boss ever kind of thing. Quit, took about 3 months off, and as my funds started to get depleted, I was like, you know what? I gotta go get a job. I don't want anything stressful. I just let me take the simplest thing, and I answered a data entry job for a real estate appraisal company. And within a couple months of doing that, they're like, "Oh, you should get your license, become an appraiser." I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to go into people's houses. That doesn't float my boat." They're like, "Oh, you'll make a lot more money." I'm like, "Yeah." And then finally, they talked me into getting my license. Got my license. Opened up my own appraisal shop. Bought my first house, first flip in 2003. Fixed it, flipped it. Took longer than it should have. I spent more than I should have. I over-improved the house. I did work myself. All these things I tell people now not to do. Yeah. But I still made over $80,000 on it. Wow. So I was hooked. And I bought another and another, and then I bought a rental and flipped a few more houses, bought more rentals, and kind of grew. Then the market crashed, and I held off. During that time, everybody got hurt, especially Vegas, which was the epicenter of it. But I learned a ton. I still was appraising, had some of my most successful years as an appraiser during the crash, just because I specialized. And it taught me a lot more about business and it helped me mature also. Yeah. As an individual, you have to kind of go through this road, and hopefully you with each dip you learn and grow. and get better and position yourself to a much higher level. So 2010 rolled around and I'm like, okay, I like where the market is. I'm getting back in. And previously, I really didn't know about all these different ways to get into real estate. I didn't know anything about hard money or wholesaling. I was really buying and flipping and all very traditionally, with regular loans or with just straight out cash, finding just the random contractors. Oh, you can put carpet in? Great, I need carpet. But then I started really learning and educating myself, going to seminars, paying for mentors, reading and just absorbing as much as I could. And I just really started building my volume, and I was going, I was doing one every 2 months, and then one every month, then two a month. And it just kind of exploded it from there. Started hiring on some people and grew it into what it is today. But it didn't happen overnight. And you need resources to do it. Whether it's your money, other people's money, you need contractors. You need more time and more hands to help.
Yeah. Well, what was the biggest hurdle as far as, getting to that point where you were doing it full time or growing it into a legit business? Was it more finding the funds, finding the deals, or handling the crews? What was your biggest challenge that really?
For me, at that time in the 2010 to 2012 range, because money was really tight after the crash.
Yeah.
There was not a lot flowing for individuals. So money was the biggest hurdle. There was deals. If I were to go back to 2010 and somebody gave me $1 million at that time, I could have turned it into 10 million in probably a year and a half, 2 years. It was just crazy what that was. But now with the knowledge base I have, and knowing how to leverage and just the way those deals were, houses that were 50,000 then within 2.5 years for some neighborhoods became $200,000 houses that quickly.
Crazy.
Because they had dropped so hard too. Yeah. So for me, it was the availability of funds, because I wanted to buy another house. So I had to wait for houses to sell. There was no instant gratification on flipping a house. You got to wait 3, 4, 5, 6 months for that house to be fixed, under contract, and then sell. So it was a juggling act for a while.
Well, that's the thing, it's feast or famine for a while, right? You get all this money when you sell one, and then in between you're like, okay, how am I going to pay the bills until this thing sells, right? It's hard.
Right.
So, well, how did you learn to get the money? Like what kind of advice can you give to someone trying to get the money to get these deals?
Well, one of the biggest draws for people that are trying to get into this business is, I don't have the funds to do it. So they hear the infomercials, the radio ads, all these teasers of, we're going to teach you how to do this with no money out of your pocket. And all that means is that when you go to this seminar, they're going to tell you to look around. Okay, you don't have money, but there's people in this room that do have money, and they don't have houses or they don't have time. That's their money. That's the trick to other people's money, OPM.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing to realize, is that money is out there everywhere.
Yeah.
And you have to know what you bring to the table and be confident in it, and be able to present yourself and your deal to somebody and say, hey, this is what I can do. This is what I want from you, and this is what I'm going to give you. If you're not giving a clear presentation of what's in it for the other party and what you're going to provide, people don't want to give you money, because it's like, oh, okay, well, you have a house, congratulations. Like, oh, you want money from me? Well, what do I get?
Yeah.
I don't. What do you want?
You're expecting them to throw you a number or something.
Yeah. That's so the main thing is going in with a plan and really knowing, okay, here's a little presentation. Here's some of the facts. This is what we basically know is going to happen, because we've seen it here. Here's all the proof that this happens, whether it's your own prior flips or somebody else in that exact same market, where you can say, this is what people are doing in here. This is why we can do it and be successful. Here's our deal. We want $200,000 from you, and you are going to get 50% of the profit. You're going to get 10% annualized return. You're going to get 5,000 flat. Whatever your terms are that you guys end up negotiating, but be very clear on it.
Yeah. So, and here's one thing I've encountered is I think a lot of people go to these investing meetups in groups and things like that, but I don't think that's really where a lot of the money is. It's just usually a lot of people that are getting started and looking for the same thing. So how do you recommend finding people? Is it just through word of mouth? Or are you out actively trying to network for these people, or what?
Networking is a great tool, but just like you said, at these meetups, these REI, real estate investing associations, RIAs, whatever you want to call them, you really get two groups of people typically at them. You get the brand new people who haven't done anything, and then you get the people that just go to meetings because they need to get out of the house. They might have done some things. They might have done stuff in the past. They might be a realtor trying to find some business, whatever it is. But that's probably 95% of the people that go to these meetings. Every once in a while, I'll speak at some of the local ones, or even, when I'm traveling, if there's a RIA that one of my friends is holding, I'll go speak at it just to help share knowledge. But the main thing for me that really brought in the private investors that I have is just letting people know what I do.
Yeah.
It's when people are seeing me flip house after house, or I'm showing before and after photos and saying, like, today I bought 2 more houses. Tomorrow I've got 3 more happening. And I got 2 selling on Friday. I mean, they're like, oh, this guy's actually doing the business. If they don't see that you're actively doing it, and the way I show people is my Facebook presence really is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to friends' houses and talking, hey, you hear about the house I just flipped? Well, no, because if they're a lawyer, they're not typically telling me, hey, you want to hear about the case I just signed? I mean, we're talking about our kids, we're talking about sports, we're talking about booze, whatever.
Yeah, it's a great way to make the conversation awkward.
Yeah. It's like, nobody wants that. But just have your ears open too, because I'm out at a bar, or I'm at a social event or something like that. A lot of times, if it's a mixed group setting, some people will introduce me as, oh, here's Luke, he's the real estate guy that I was telling about, or you might have seen he flips a bunch of houses. Oh, you construction? Yeah, Luke is the guy to help with that. I was at a friend's house the other day picking up my boy who had done a sleepover, and they're having trouble with their doorknob. They were wanting to replace their doorknobs, but they didn't know how to get this fancy doorknob off. I'm like, oh, go get me your Allen wrench set, and I got it. I don't lift hammers anymore, but it still helps me out because I'm the real estate guy.
Sure. Yeah.
But let people know what you do, and go out and go into different settings, not just real estate settings. It can be entrepreneurial, it can be business, it can be just social meet and greets at some, a happy hour where it's, hey, business professionals, come on out. Where it's not a awkward conversation where people are telling each other what they do. It's a setup where people are supposed to go and see how they can, commingle their businesses and make it a win-win situation.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff happens every day in every major city across the world.
And that's the thing with the internet now. It's just so much easier to find those groups and connect, right?
Yeah, meetup.com is a great site for local things. It's not a dating service. It's where groups go and post what events they're having. Go check that out if you guys are listening.
Well, that's how most of the people in my list here that are watching this is from Meetup. So I think it's a great resource. Yeah. Well, let's talk about contractors, because flipping, especially from a distance, like I've done in the past, man, that's been my biggest challenge. Is like I've gotten burned a lot, and I know a lot of other people that have too. So how do you get around that? How do you hold them accountable? How do you keep them on task and on budget? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's always the toughest thing. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we started our own contracting firm here in Vegas. It's like I'd rather be in control of it.
Yeah.
But really, from distance, the main thing is that you have to have a impartial party out there, so a solid boots on the ground, not somebody, not the contractor, not your realtor, but somebody that understands the business and can report back to you on what's happening to the house or not happening to the house. You know, for me, I'm a pictures guy. I don't want people sending me videos of the house. Send me pictures. Send me a Dropbox link with 300 pictures of the house once or twice a week, so I can see the progress. That way I can call up the contractor and say, hey, you said you were starting flooring yesterday. It didn't happen. Explain. Because I'm not giving you another draw check until I see more progress. Oh, well, the flooring's out of stock, so we had to go somewhere else. We got it. Okay, cool. Send me a picture of it. You know, prove to me you're actually working.
Yeah.
And then it's tough because you do have to focus. There is a lot of trust that has to go into it. But once you see something that's off schedule, you got to hold the other party accountable. Don't give them more money. You know, and that's, I've been burned by contractors too. You know, sometimes you put too much trust into someone and it just doesn't go the way you want. But that's the nature of the beast. It can happen right next door to your own house and you get taken for a ride.
Or even your own house.
Yeah. But the main thing is keep monitoring your project so that you can really follow it, and don't take what someone else is saying for the truth. Meaning, oh, you know, we'll be out there in a couple days to get working on the paint. Well, why wasn't it today? You're behind schedule. You had this schedule. We had this pay in here. I'm not giving you more money until it's done. Oh, weeks gone by and you haven't been there. I'm assuming that you've left the job. So I'm going to kick you off. I'm going to find a new contractor. And by the way, I'm taking you to the contractor board for the $5,000 that you didn't do of work. You know, you have to be strong and protect yourself, because it might not just be you. It might be your private investors that are on that project that you have to protect too.
There's a lot on the line.
Yeah.
Do you do anything with actual contracts in the beginning? You know, if they're over budget or if they're over time, or they get penalized or rewarded if they're early, or any of that kind of stuff?
It'll vary depending on the job, the contractor, the state that you're in. You know, when I was in Florida, I did a lot of contracts with my GCs, penalties for late fee. Excuse me. You know, in Texas, as you know, it can be a little more loosey-goosey.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you might scare away a contractor if you say, here's my contract, I want you to sign it. The contractor's going to be like, I don't understand it. I'm not signing. I'm not doing your work.
Yeah, I've encountered that, yeah.
Yeah. And so again, sometimes you just got to take it on faith. But one of the things to do, though, is if that contractor is asking for 25, 50% down, tell them, well, give me your schedule and let me take a look at it. Oh, you're doing demo the first week? That sounds like that's, what, $2,000 worth of work? I will pay you once a week. I'll pay you twice a week to keep you moving, because I know you're not working if you're not getting money, but I'm not going to give you $30,000 up front and just, okay, I think he's going to buy materials. So it's having that understanding. That's really one of the big things that I can tell you is, you know, don't give them a big chunk of money up front if you don't know them. Monitor their progress, pay them, because if you're not paying them, they're not working. But if you paid them and they're not working, don't give them more money.
Yeah. Well, we just helped a lady that had her house flood in Hurricane Harvey, didn't have insurance, and then she had her contractor come in and she paid $100,000 up front, and he ran away with their money.
Yeah.
So she went into foreclosure because of it. So yeah.
Sad stuff. There's a lot of it happens all over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to share this question that I got in email, because I think it's one I really want to hit. There's actually three here, but have you seen a slowdown in the market, and any plans on slowing down, flipping, since the yield curve has inverted? So this is something I've been paying a little attention to. Is the yield curve is essentially an indicator of a recession, and I guess we've hit it in the last couple of weeks. What are your thoughts on all that, and how are you approaching business?
When you're looking at stats, you really have to take a look at your local stats. You know, that's one of the things that I really learned as an appraiser is I love the numbers. I love looking at both micro and macro economics. really taking a look and seeing how things affect another thing. You know, how, you know, when you're watching rent prices go up, but income hasn't gone up. And then there's, you see construction of apartments happening, but it's like, wait, no, it's high-end apartments versus low-end apartments. So where these people are going to live and what's going to happen. And that can force more foreclosures down the road because people get into something they can't afford. But the overall market right now definitely has slowed down. The overall U.S. market. You know, I watch a little bit of the international play, what's going on. You know, a lot of our construction materials come from China, so the tariffs play into that. That's made costs go up overall. You know, so if you're flipping houses and your costs go up, you have to consider that because now you have to look for a bigger margin. If you have just even $3,000 worth more of material costs on a project, it can change whether you do that project or not, depending on what you're spread.
Yeah.
So as far as my my overall business goes for flipping, no, I haven't slowed down because the Las Vegas market is still very strong. We've got you know, the Golden Knights, the hockey team that came last year and doing great and brought in a whole bunch of money and revenue. And it's not just the construction of the arena, but when you look at you know, all of the players coming in with $3 to $10 million salaries, the higher end real estate growth that brings in as well. We have the Las Vegas Raiders happening in 2020. Our $150 million minor league ballpark just opened here in Vegas. The opening night was last night. Awful cold, windy game for it. Of 11,000 seats, something like 400 people were left at the end of it because it was so cold and just awful. But beyond that, I think we have something like $13 billion, B with a billion with a B, happening just down in the Las Vegas Strip area as well. So we have a lot of growth happening in Vegas, a lot of money that's earmarked for coming in. And then there's additional stuff off Strip too. That's another $8 billion. So we have a lot of money coming in, growing, where other cities might not have it. You know, Houston's definitely slowed down. Inventory's gone up in housing. More building has happened, and you see a lot of different changes in growth and safety. That's another thing that a lot of people don't track is crime rates, because crime rates actually play a lot into where the economy is going. Yield rates and mortgage rates, and you know, when you're looking at all that kind of stuff, it's beyond the normal person. There's a lot of indicators over the last 5 years that we've been going back into a recession.
I've seen that too. Yeah.
But you know, we continue to be okay. I think we're going to be okay here in Las Vegas for another couple years. You know, I know that there's other areas of the country that have already gone into a decline last year. You know, I actually stopped, or I slowed my buying in August, September of last year, knowing that the winter months were going to slow down here. And I increased my margins on deals. But coming into the beginning of spring here in Vegas, which we're already in, we've been in spring for a couple months now in Vegas. You know, it's not like
what's that spring? What the heck is that?
Yeah, it was 89 degrees 2 days ago or something like that here.
Nice.
But we, you know, we're in full force. If it's a deal, I'm buying it. I'm picking stuff up quick, just because I'm very bullish on what our market is doing right now. But that's really when I'm talking micro level. I'm not just talking a subdivision. I'm talking the city versus the macro of the whole U.S. economy. Yeah. So that was a kind of long-winded.
Well, it's good. If you did see something changing, I think I asked you this in person one time, but what would you do if you did see things slowing down and changing in a negative way? Would you?
You know, it's one of the reasons to really track your own market numbers yourself is because when you're looking at the stats that are posted in any news article or anything like that, really go find out what that source of those stats were. And you'll see that most of those articles, the information that they're providing is 3 to 6 months old.
Yeah.
So if you're not following your own stats, you're going to be way behind the curve. So, I follow my market stats in Vegas. I'm looking at my housing inventory, really tracking to see where we're at to make sure that, oh, hang on, we just reached 6 months of inventory. Maybe I should stop buying because it's good. That sounds really soft to me. But if we're at 2.5 months, that sounds great. I should keep buying because I know my rehabbed houses are going to sell quick.
Yeah.
So that's, when the market gets oversupplied, I slow down my buying and I try to speed up. Like, you know what? If I can get a second crew on this house to finish it in 2 weeks instead of 4 weeks, it's probably going to save me money because I'll get my house out there quicker, faster, before the market realizes what happened. It was really happening. So.
Okay. The other question we had was, could you break down your business systems that benefit you most? And you must have a lot of really good ones if you're doing that kind of volume.
It was funny. I had a couple of my students in here the other day. They did a couple of flips, each of them last year, and I was showing them my spreadsheets and how I go through it. I was reviewing the books. Every file that every time we finish a property, it takes about 30 days to close out that property, getting all your final bills and your refunds in, and then we review them. So I have a business partner, and he and I both review the books, meaning the actual files, and it all starts. The files start, or the property starts in a spreadsheet. Okay, this is the one we're buying. We got to make sure that all the numbers are right, that we got the money lined up, that it's closing on time, that our rehab is starting on time, and it's really tracking it through the process. And then at the end, reviewing what we did through the process to make sure, okay, this is what we actually made on the house. This is what we thought we were going to make. This is the reason why there was a difference, and making sure that we are, some people don't even collect their refunds from the utility companies. Or they don't cancel their insurance on time, so that they end up losing a couple $100 in a potential refund. And when you're right, what was that?
It all adds up.
Yeah. When you're running 40 properties, every $100, it's like that matters.
Yeah. But I think the problem with a lot of people is they're just doing it all by themselves and wearing all the hats.
Yeah. And whether you're doing one property or 100 properties, track what you're doing. It's and especially if you're just doing 1 or 2, you spend something on a house, put it into a spreadsheet, document it. Yeah. Because it's also going to help you come tax time when the IRS is saying, oh, you bought it for 100, sold it for 200, you made $100. Oh, hang on, or $100,000. Hang on, I had $68,000 in expenses on this house, so there's $2,000 in profit.
Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about your team last time, but can you tell me a little bit more? It's pretty small, actually, from what I was expecting.
Yeah, it's as we've grown the additional businesses, the real estate brokerage and the contracting company, we've taken some of our resources, our personnel, and reposition them just because they might be better at it, they might like it, or they're just were needed there. And the flipping business, the core of the flipping business is, it starts with acquisitions. So I've got me and another acquisitions manager that are prime drivers of properties. I've got off payroll. I've got some bird dogs that bring us stuff. But really, it's just the two of us that are active and bringing in plenty of deals. I've got a transaction coordinator that helps, puts all the paperwork into all the right spots, make sure that we're closing, communicates with my private investors, so that everybody's on top of what needs to happen. I've got an assistant who, if there's something that needs to be done, that it's not necessarily beneath me, but it's not the best use of my time. If I could be out finding another deal that makes me $25,000, $35,000, $45,000, maybe I shouldn't do this $20 an hour task or this $50 an hour task. That if I could bring in another deal versus shuffling paperwork or going and recording a document at the county recorder, that kind of thing. I've got 2 bookkeepers on staff that kind of do all the businesses. I've got my business partner who does back end paperwork on the books and really kind of make sure that everything's happening the way it is as a double check. I'm more of the front of the house. Yeah. You know, I'm the guy that greets you at the restaurant, make sure your food is good. And he's the chef in back, making sure that, okay, that was served right. And we budgeted correctly for it and made it happen. Trying to think. I've got a runner who's out inspecting properties, making sure that they stay clean and safe. And then I've got my the construction company, which is separate, and I've got my project managers that manage the property through construction with a little help from me, and also with the transaction coordinator. So we kind of all wear a few different hats in the business. You don't need 20 people to run a business of this size. You know,
how many project managers do you have?
For the construction company, we just hired another one, so we've got five project managers, and each one of them can run 3 to 8 construction jobs at a time. Yeah. So depending on the location, size, extent of rehab. We're in that. I've got people that are doing ground up construction. I've got people that are doing tenant improvements. I've got people that are doing my flips, and the ones that are doing my flips like it the least. Yeah, that might be the pickiest client that we have.
When you say your flips, what do you mean?
Meaning my flipping business is flipped, because the companies are all separate.
Gotcha.
So it's, we really are like, okay, what hat am I wearing right now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, which logo are we going with for this activity? Oh, yeah. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. And we also touched on marketing, but I'm sure a lot of people are wondering how you're getting your leads and deals.
So we do a number of different things. We do some small batch mailers, vetted list that we break down. Maybe it's a driving for dollars list or a notice default list that we've really taken from 3,000 addresses down to a couple hundred. We do door knocking. We do driving for dollars to add people to the list. We do pay-per-click. And a lot of word of mouth gets us deals too. I think I probably have 4 or 5 of my current, I think we're at 38 right now, deals were all like just word of mouth things that came in, not wholesale deals even, but just somebody who knows, oh, you buy houses, and here you go. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that works. And then wholesalers is
do it long enough and you're in your community and networking, and you're just going to get that fall in your lap more and more.
Yeah, it happens. I've even had people just reach out to me on Facebook saying, "Oh, it looks like you buy houses. Is that accurate? Yeah. Can you make an offer on my house? Sure."
So, what's your monthly budget for marketing, roughly? Just for leads, like seller leads and stuff.
Yeah, we're right about 8,000. Yeah. So that's just marketing budget. So that's money spent towards pay-per-click, advertising, some print material, the mailers and things like that. So that doesn't include any budgeting in for commissions or bird dog fees or any of that nature.
I've heard of guys spending like 50.
Oh yeah, no, I know guys that spend 100 a month.
Yeah,
100,000 a month.
Yeah.
So and it's it all depends on what you want to do. Some people are out there sending out hundreds of thousands of mailers every month. Other people are doing ringless voicemails. Other people are running call centers. Other people have huge teams of door knockers that are just canvassing neighborhoods. There's all different ways to do this business.
So many ways.
Yeah. And you just, you got to go with what works best for you.
Yeah. Very cool. Okay. Last question on here. And if you guys have questions, feel free to just type them into the chat. And sorry, Facebook, I can't look at the comments right now, but if you do have questions, you're watching on Facebook, I'll make sure that one of us answers a question for you. Okay, this was just a question. What's your best marketing strategy? So I think you kind of covered that. Did you have a favorite?
As far as a favorite goes, my favorite marketing strategy is to hold parties and get people drunk and get done. I do those quarterly parties here in Vegas. I've been doing them for a few years. And, I've gotten a great network out of it. Realtors that send me deals, new wholesalers.
I think I know what your mailing piece looks like. Facing foreclosure, come get drunk. Here's the address. And
yeah. No, it's not for the sellers.
No, I know.
It would work too, right? Hey,
Yeah,
seminar, loss prevention, come have a beer on us.
If anyone needs it, it's probably people that are almost losing their house, right? Need to de-stress.
Yeah, come cry on my shoulder and I'll find a solution.
Yeah, I think we just came up with a new one that no one's doing.
Yeah, just make sure that they're not drunk when they're signing contracts.
That's true, yeah.
Be safe about that.
Headaches are okay.
And that's actually a good point. We really try to run a fair and honest company and not take advantage of anybody and offer real fair deals. We actually get houses from referrals from people that we've bought their house and they refer us out to somebody else. We get really good reviews from people because, it really should be a win-win. It's a tough situation for a lot of people. And, that's one of the reasons why we get charities too here in town. Because one of the charities we give to is a local one called Safe Nest that really helps displaced families, battered women and children,
awesome.
Things of that nature. Because a lot of the houses that we actually go into, we see that, and it's a tough thing. So that's just another way that we can help and give back to the community. That in an area that's done really well for us. So treat people with respect. Treat them right. Don't, I see people out there that are like, forcing people to sign contracts at such low ball prices because they know, they're in such a bad spot. They're going to have to take this $20,000. And it's like, it's great to make money, but there's good and bad ways to do it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, we're in a position where we can really help people, and it's not like we're like the clientele we work with, they're really in tough shape. They're really beaten down, right? It's not, like a lot of realtors where you're just, upgrading your house or something like that. Like there's some people in a lot of negativity. Yeah,
it's, I get realtors that refer me to their clients like, hey, they're interested in a cash offer, and they bring me in because I'll just tell them I don't have to buy their house. I think that's one of the best sales tactics for me is I don't need to buy your house. I'm fine without it, but I'm going to give you a fair price and I'm going to give you some advice. And one of the fun things about it is you can say, hey, you know what? If you want to sell your house for more, definitely go with this realtor. But let me suggest that you paint the inside of it. It's going to cost you $1,500, but it's going to sell it faster and maybe bring back $4,000. So you'll get more money in your pocket. And by the way, we can do the painting for you.
Yeah, that's really cool that you've got that part of your business going too.
Yeah, and I've trained my realtors on that too, where now they can get more value for their clients as well. And or even other flippers that we're doing their rehabs for them. And then my guys can say, you sure you want to do that? Like spend that much money on that? We typically do this package and it'll save you $5,000 on it. Oh, well, I didn't even know I could do that.
Yeah. That's the thing I love about this business is there's just so many ways that you can make a living doing it. There's just so many different angles. And that actually leads me to Matt's question is, are you doing any other things like seller finance wraps? This is one of the strategies I really like.
Yeah, we do we do a lot of creative financing stuff. We do partnerships with sellers. We do owner carries, all kinds of things to make the deals happen.
Whatever makes the numbers work, right? Like,
yeah, let's say I can offer somebody $250,000 on their house cash.
Yeah.
But, you know what? No, that's too low for me. Well, tell you what, you own the house free and clear. How about I take over all the utilities, taxes, everything from this date, and I give you $10,000 to move, so you get out of the house. And what we'll do is, so I was at $250,000. I'll put in the money to rehab the house, and then we'll sell the house. And after my rehab, I think it'll sell for $320,000. I'll put 25 into it. So when the house sells, you get your $250,000 that we originally said. I'm giving you 10 of it, so you get 240. I get my 25,000, and then the remainder we just split it. 50-50 profit. And I've had sellers go for that. They're like, "Oh, I can make an extra 15,000 on it. That's great."
Yeah, and it's so easy to understand too.
Yeah, for me, it's less money out of pocket.
Yeah,
for a deal, I can make 20 grand off of 25,000. That's a no-brainer for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's certain paperwork you have to get it solved for all that kind of stuff. Power of attorney and all that kind of stuff to just protect your interests, because you don't want to fix up a house and then have the owner move back in.
Yeah, thanks.
That's a way that has gotten us a few extra deals that we've liked. And whether it's a partnership or maybe the owner is just like, how about we'll do I'll pay you 5% interest, 6% interest. Again, 250,000. I give you 10 up front, and over the next 6 months, you get some mortgage payments. Yeah. So you end up getting an extra 10 grand out of it. And they're like, "Oh, I never even knew that was possible."
Yeah.
Write up all the paperwork. Title company will all go through them. Servicing company will be just like Bank of America.
Yeah. Sellers are the best private lenders.
They are. Yeah. And after you've done that with them, and the house sells, a lot of times they don't know what to do with that money. They say,
exactly. They want more.
Property I'm going to buy. If you like that, if you like those payments, we could do that again over here in a house that's not even yours.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. So we're getting a little short on time. I want to talk a little bit about your mentoring and your book, but do you have what's your best horror story? We got to entertain here. Do you have any crazy houses that you've seen? Horror stories like that?
Ooh. Best horror story. It's tough for me because I've seen thousands of houses over the years, so I'd really just kind of roll with it. So none of them really jump out at me.
You're not fazed by it anymore.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think that one of my green employees may have seen. We recently bought a house that had some squatters in it. And we thought we had got the squatters out. We even had a company come and remove all the personal property. It was all boarded up. And sure enough, squatters came back. And we had just hired on a new property inspector to take over some of our workload. And he wouldn't go in the house. He wouldn't go clear a house because now he was afraid of squatters. and for me, I'm a flip-flop guy. I'm wearing flip-flops right now. I walk into houses like, "Hey, I'm here, just looking at the house." And I'm being as loud as I can, waking up everybody. I mean, I've had people jump out windows before, or just to get out because they know they're not supposed to be. And I'm wearing flip-flops, walking through a house with a scarf on, t-shirt, and it's. Nothing really phases me that much. For my employees, things phase them. The big swastika on one of the pools that we just redid, a pentagram on the floor of one house. You get funny stuff that happens. Piles of dog debris, human debris too.
I heard a story about squatters that were using the deep freeze as a toilet, and general contractor opened it up and. All kinds of stuff.
They'll paint with it too.
Oh,
that's always the best, especially in a hot Vegas summer.
Oh man, I can't even imagine. Awful. So yeah, tell me a little bit more about your mentoring program and also your book here, which is amazing. If you guys have not read it, you definitely should. Let's talk about it.
Well, let's talk about the book first, because if anyone asks me about my mentoring program, I always tell them, have you read my book? Because if you don't have the ability to read a book from start to finish, I honestly don't want to mentor you. Read the book. There's a ton of stuff in there. It's stuff that I do in my business every day right now, and it works. I get people that message me all the time saying, oh my gosh, I got my first house because of this. We just closed on our first flip, $50,000, and it's because strictly of what's in the book. And it's all over the country. People are sending me those messages. And really, I wrote the book because I was getting so many questions, because as I built this Facebook presence, social media presence, people kept asking me the same questions over and over. Yeah. And I was like, okay, let me just put it together. And then I put more and more and more. I'm like, okay, well, I guess basically I have a book here. Turned it into a book, and it's been a bestseller on Amazon for really the last 2 years. It's pretty amazing. It sells actually all over the world. I think I sold it in about 40 different countries now.
Really?
Yeah. All over Europe, South America, Australia, any English-speaking country, I think has had a sale on it. That's pretty cool about with Amazon. You can see where the sales are all coming from.
Yeah.
So that was really the start of it. And then, people want more. They want more hand-holding. They want a sounding board that you might not get from the book, or a Facebook group page. We have a group page for the Flipping Blueprint. It's oddly enough called the Flipping Blueprint Group.
Oh, and that's very creative.
Very creative, right?
Yeah.
And that's a place that I'm active on too, answering questions and sharing stories and things. But my mentoring program is called The Missing Pieces, because everybody's missing some sort of piece in their real estate investing career.
Yeah.
And we talk about everything in that, from wholesaling to rentals to new construction. I mean, I've got students in California doing multi-million-dollar builds. I've got students building Midwest portfolios. I've got students that are just doing one flip a year and just wanting to be safer with it. Because my main thing is that if you are investing, you should do it safely. Don't be reckless, and really go after it. And honestly, I don't hold things back. I really try to help people out. And as more time is involved in it, there is a cost to it. And but really, the first thing is, if you're interested in it, read my book, take action, and then if you want more, then come hit me up on Facebook and ask me more about the.
Cool. So you can get it right on Amazon then, huh?
Oh yeah, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, iBooks, you name it, it's out there.
When are you going to record the audio version of it?
There's a lot of numbers in it, and actually part of the mentoring is we've got hours and hours of video in there where I actually really break down numbers and do it on screen, so it's not just audio. It's let me actually show you how this works, example. So it goes really more in depth beyond the book, and both video and live action interaction. We do mentoring calls and all kinds of stuff like that. So I don't have plans to do the audio book yet, but part of our YouTube channel will have some expanded version of the flip tips that are in the book.
Very cool. Awesome. So is Facebook the best way to reach you, Luke, or how can people?
It is. I'm on Facebook every day unless I'm on a vacation where I am no digital. I try to take a couple of those a year where I'm out for just a full week of no digital, no checking email. Maybe I'll post a picture or two on social media of where I'm at, but that's something you got to do to recharge your batteries.
Do you find that the first couple of days of that you're freaking out a bit, or is it easy to unplug?
It's easier now that I've done it a few times.
Yeah.
The first couple times, I used to take out vacations, and the first, you go for a week. The first 3 days is you're answering final stuff and trying to forget about it. Then you have a day of I'm on vacation, and then you're like, okay, I'm heading back to work in 3 days. I really got to start thinking about it. You start setting things up and appointments. That's the way it used to be. But now it's I was just in Curacao in the Caribbean 4 weeks ago, I think. And I was like, I'm on vacation. I did everything I could before I left, handed everything off, got it set up on my team. I know they're going to do awesome. And then it wasn't until I was on in the airport in between flights coming back that I was like, all right, let me see what's been going on while I was gone.
And what did that do for your psyche?
It's great. You got to be able to turn it off sometimes, and it's tough, but it's definitely something you got to do.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, we have just a few minutes. So if any of you have any questions, Matt said he loved the book. So that's awesome. Matt, thanks for all your contribution here with questions. But if any of you guys have any other questions for Luke, you can type them in right now. Otherwise, we'll wrap things up.
Yep. Or, afterwards, if anybody's watching this on a video replay, find me in the Flipping Blueprint group page. That's where I'm most active. If you have a question, please post it within the group, not as a private message, unless it really is something super private. Because if you have that question, somebody else has that question. And just by you asking that question, you can help others. And that's really the reason for the book and for the group is to help other people invest safer. Because I've heard horror story upon horror story in this business. And, I've done pretty well for myself and built some systems that can really help you. And that's my big goal here.
Can anyone be part of the group, or is it just for your students, or how does that work?
The Flipping Blueprint group page is for anybody that's read the book. Gotcha. And that's really the idea of it. So that's free to get in. Answer a couple questions to enter it. I want to keep out spammers and keep it a good, solid group. People that, it's be polite, be nice, all that kind of stuff. And just ask questions, share your successes, share your problems. And there's a lot of people besides me in there that are happy to help.
I think right now it's easier than ever to just get help, just because there's so many forums and things like that. Like without these crazy courses that cost $50,000.
One of the main things is to find a group that's positive.
Yeah,
get the negativity out of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, yes, another question. Any books or resources that really took me to the next level? And honestly, a lot of it was entrepreneurial stuff, business management.
Mm-hmm.
Real estate is it's the same thing over and over, really. But once you really figure out how to be a better negotiator, how to run your business smarter, how to manage your time better, you can be really better at every aspect of real estate.
Yeah. Ryan asks, we just put a house under contract in New Jersey. Congrats. It's completely gutted to the studs, and it seems straightforward, but where do you think we could have the project go off the rails?
You could over-improve the house. So many people over-improve houses where they're just like, they think everything has to be HGTV. Now, depending on what part of New Jersey you're in, I've got friends that flip there, and some of them are really basic. And I've got a buddy who's very active. He does $800 to $1.6 million houses. It's kind of his niche. And he'll go in and he'll use 11 different paint colors on the inside of the house. Wow. And for me, it's like, if I have more than 2 paint colors on the inside of a house, my tan walls or gray walls and my white ceilings, it's over improved for most of my houses. So that's really where a lot of people go too far. Now, you've already gutted the house. I see a lot of people gut houses that don't need a full gut. So I don't know about this one in particular, but you might have already spent too much on that. Now you're just replacing stuff, replacing drywall or replacing electrical that didn't actually need to be. So for your next one, just think about that. The way to do that is to look at your comps, what you're basing your after repair value on, and really look at what they did and say, okay, what do I need to do to mine to reach that level?
Yeah. You don't necessarily have to beat it. You just have to reach it, right? Yeah. Cool. More questions. Any suggestions to find attorneys which are real estate investor friendly?
Just ask some other people. In some areas you don't need an attorney, a closing attorney. Other places you do. A lot of these groups, these big cost classes say, oh, you got to build your power team, and one of the things
you build that first.
An attorney.
Yeah.
And you need your own appraiser, and you need your own this and that. You don't really need it until you need it for an attorney. And there's closing attorneys in any state that has closing attorneys and uses closing attorneys. There's hundreds and hundreds of them. Just ask a couple people in some of the forums who they're using and who they would recommend, and you'll find some good ones. So it really is a very specific to the market that you're in.
Yeah, just like Facebook investor groups or like Bigger Pockets or any of those kind of things, and just ask for recommendations.
Get the name and information from somebody that's done a number of deals with that attorney. That's the best way to do it.
Okay. This is back to that New Jersey deal. Bought it in foreclosure. I appreciate the thoughts. Cool, man. Well, good luck on that flip, Ryan. Yeah,
it's always fun to be creative. Being creative doesn't always make the most money.
Yeah.
So just really take a look at that, and I'm sure once the house is done, it's going to be beautiful. But make sure, one of the things I do when I'm remodeling houses, I remodel it to the 8%. I'm going to remodel this house so that 80% of the people in the market are going to want to buy it. If you go a lot of different custom things and I'm going to do something crazy special, that might drop 60-80% of the people away from the house. So now you're only looking for those 20% of the people that really want something avant-garde. Yeah. So that's the way I do my houses. And every once in a while, I'll add some little flair to a house just because I know I'm going to get a good return for it. But I'm not doing custom walls in every house. I'm not doing waterfall countertops when I don't have to do waterfall countertops. I'm not putting in $10,000 of appliances when $1,500 of appliances suffices. So.
And I think as you go, you can find those little things that really have a lot of impact that don't cost that much. Little things that people see and they're like, whoa, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we're right at 9 Mountains, so I guess we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much, Luke, for coming on again.
Yeah, it was fun talking with you. And
I feel like we could do this for 4 months straight, just because I keep thinking of more things we could talk about. But
yeah. Well, if you want, you can ask some questions on Friday when I'm doing my next Tips and Flips episode. It's a little something that I've been doing where I bring in some of my buddies in real estate and get them liquored up, and we do a show for about an hour and
is it online or is it in person?
Live. Yeah, we do it live.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Maybe once. We're actually doing some Bibb and Tucker bourbon on Friday, so you can take along with us. 3:00 Pacific time. We encourage a 2-drink minimum, but do it safely. And we just have a good time, and it's sips and flips. So the alcohol comes first. Yeah. And once you get out alcohol, then the real estate secrets come second.
Very cool. And that's through your Facebook page, or how do you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook. We've got just like this. We do it over Zoom, and awesome. Have a good time, and really try to just give back to people. And when my friends are coming into Vegas, or even if it's somebody I don't know that well that's in Vegas, I hear you're coming to Vegas, come be a guest on the show. So Cal, you're always invited. When next time you're in Vegas, we'll have a good one. We'll drink some high quality micro brews.
That is awesome. I didn't realize it was online, but that makes it even cooler.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, and anybody and everywhere can join from their pajamas or be nude and have a booze with.
Yeah, you can filter some of that stuff out, right?
Oh no, we're the only ones on video. You're not on video, so it's be comfortable.
Oh, perfect. So boxer shorts it is. Awesome. All right, man. Well, thank you guys for attending. I really appreciate you giving your time to pursue this. I mean, I know there's so much to flipping, and we couldn't even scratch the surface. But we'd be happy to answer questions anytime. So, Luke, I'd love to have you back again, man. So I appreciate it.
Sounds good, bud, and can't wait to see you again in person.
Yeah, you betcha. All right, guys, take care.
See you guys.
Have a great night.